Hi, it's Rosie Cake Diva. I'm showing you a few of my favourite nozzles, and this one's the 1M. Just want to show you how to make a simple rose. This one's a two-tone one, it doesn't have to be. So this is my 1M nozzle. It's a star tip, and what I'm going to do is, just starting from the middle, I'm going to make this rose by putting some pressure on the piping bag, and I'm going to slightly overlap, so I'm starting in the middle, slightly overlapping where I've been before, going round in a circle to form that shape. And as I come to the final circuit, I'm going to tail it off. There we go. And if I have an extra little part that's just sticking out a little bit too much, you can use a damp paintbrush to smooth it in, or often what people do is they make little fondant flowers or butterflies and just stick them on the edge. So if you want it to be absolutely perfect. Have the same nozzle, same piping bag, and I'm starting on the outside. There we go. Following it through all the way to the centre, and then at the centre I'm just going to give it a little bit of an ice cream top, and it's a totally different effect. So you can see the different effects you get from starting inside and starting outside. That's the 1M. For more tips and ideas and my buttercream recipe, just check out my other videos. Thank you for...
Hi, I'm Andrew from Pink Cake Princess. Today I'm going to show you how to create this really easy My Little Pony rainbow cake. Not only gorgeous on the outside, but gorgeous on the inside with these hidden rainbow layers. This was for my daughter Caitlin, who turned 7 recently. I did a dessert table for her and her sisters. You can check out the Wishes Shopkins cake and also the Dork Diaries cake on my channel, with the links in the video description below. For the cakes, I've just used a basic vanilla cake box mix. I've divided the batter for each box into 2, and I've created 2 colours with each packet. I've created 6 layers in total, so I've used 3 packets. You can check out how I bake and colour the layers in my Rainbow Lean Bands tutorial that I created last year. And if you want to check out how to make a My Little Pony figurine, you can check out this tutorial, which I'll provide the links at the end of the video. For this cake, I used these toy figurines instead, so that my daughter could play with them afterwards, and also because I had 3 cakes to do, so timing was a bit of a factor. These figurines are really cute, perfect for the rainbow layers. Let me know which one is your favourite. Now, just a reminder on how I filled the cakes. I filled each layer with my Swiss meringue buttercream recipe. You can see how I fill it and stack it and crumb coat it in my rainbow cake tutorial. Here's a reminder just how I did it. Okay, now onto my fondant icing. I'm rolling out some lightly coloured pink fondant icing, turning it every so often and busting any air bubbles with a pin. If you find your fondant sticky, you can dust it with some corn flour. Now, checking the fondant to make sure that it's large enough before I place it onto my cake. Smoothing it over on top, making sure there's no air bubbles underneath, and then gently pressing the sides down, an inch at a time. Smoothing over with my cake smoother, and trimming the bottom off with a pizza cutter or a roller cutter. Smoothing again with my cake smoothers. Now, you can cover your second cake, or in this case I'm using a dummy cake because I've got 3 cakes to serve, so I decided I didn't need this bottom layer to be actually cake. You can see the full tutorial on how I create this fake cake or dummy cake at the end of this video with a link as well. The blue cake is 11 inches wide. And just covering my cake board with some white fondant, trimming off the excess. It's a 15-inch cake board. Okay, now stacking up your cakes, you can attach it with a little bit of royal icing if you want to secure it. In this case, I'm just showing you how to stack it on. I haven't actually put the royal icing on. And then to attach the My Little Ponies, you can stack them up like I've done here, or you can attach them with some royal icing at the bottom of their feet onto the cake if you want them to be more secure. Okay, now onto my candle holders. I'm balling up several balls of white fondant and then just sticking my candles in and attaching them to the cake board with a little bit of water. Now just cutting out my daughter's name with some letter cutters and using a pin to help me get the letters out. There's a full tutorial on how to do this on my channel as well. Now just cutting out a number 7. You can just manually cut this number out using a paper template and a knife if you don't have this cutter. Attaching the 7 onto my cake and also adding a ribbon at the bottom and also around the base of my top cake with some royal icing. And that's it, that's your cake done. Beautiful on display and also beautiful when you cut it out to serve. Perfect for any rainbow themed party or My Little Pony party.
Hi everyone and welcome to Creative Cakes by Sharon. Today I've teamed up with some of my friends at Tastemade and together we've come up with some terrific dishes for Father's Day. From Ania's Kitchen we have a maple and nut baguette. Sharmila's Kitchen has made chicken and cheese balls. Karen from Cravings Food Adventures has made Moroccan cigars. Now that sounds interesting, doesn't it? A healthy pulled pork sandwich from the Low Carb Planner, as well as these delicious looking chili cheese fries from Lindsay at the Kitchen Witch. And finally a beef stew from Rookie with a Cookie, and of course I've got something sweet for Father's Day with this inside surprise Father's Day cake. Now guys, don't forget to stay tuned till the end of my video and I'll leave all the links to everybody else's videos. So for now, let's get started and I'll show you how to make this inside surprise Father's Day cake.
The first thing I need to do is prepare my first batch of cake batter, and today I'm using a store-bought packet of vanilla cake. Into the batter I'm going to add some blue gel food colouring. This is going to make the surprise on the inside of our cake really stand out once it's cut into. Now I'm going to transfer the batter into 2 lined trays and pop them in the oven to bake. Now because these cakes are very thin, only about half an inch or so tall, it's going to bake very quickly, so make sure you don't overbake and keep an eye on it. Mine took about 12 minutes. Once they're done, just remove them from the pans and let them cool down to room temperature so they can be handled. While these cakes are cooling, I'm going to prepare my second lot of cake batter, and this time I'm using a double quantity because I want to make a really nice tall square cake. Now the inside surprise of this cake is going to be a moustache and a bow tie. So I've got a cookie cutter for the moustache, but I didn't have one for the bow tie, so I've just used some cardboard to cut out a template. So now I'll just cut these shapes out of the blue cakes and get ready to assemble them. I don't really have a tall square pan, and you probably won't have one at home either. So I've covered some cardboard with some foil and then again with some non-stick baking paper. This is a really clever way to extend the size or shape of a cake pan that you've already got at home in the cupboard. Now I can start assembling the inside of my surprise cake, and I'm going to use a wooden skewer for stability and create a stack of the moustaches and bows. Once I've got my 2 stacks, I can place them both into the cake pan and start to carefully pour the second batch of batter into the tins. I need to make sure that the cake batter surrounds both of the stacks nicely. The batter should come to about 2/3 of the way up the stacks. Don't forget it's going to rise up the rest of the way in the oven. So long as you coat the bows and the moustache cakes with some of the liquidy cake batter, they'll not dry out in the oven. Once the cake is baked, you can remove the skewers and carefully turn the cake out onto a cooling rack. It needs to be completely cooled before going any further. I've given the cake a little trim to make it nice and flat and even, and I'm using some buttercream frosting to cover the cake. It's important to know where the front of this cake will be, because once it's covered we won't know. And after all this effort, we don't want to cut into it from the wrong side. So I've simply placed a toothpick under the cake on the side I want to be the front facing. After I've covered the cake with the frosting, I can use a piece of paper towel and gently rub over the cake to smooth out the frosting. and run my fingers along the edges to make them nice and sharp. The cake will have to be placed in the fridge now so that the frosting can develop a crust and become firm. Now I'm going to start decorating the outside of the cake, and you can of course do this however you like. I'm covering it with some light blue fondant, and before I apply the fondant I need to lightly brush over the frosting with some simple syrup. This is so that the fondant sticks nicely to the cake. Applying the fondant one side at a time, trimming off any excess from the edges and smoothing as I go. At this point I can remove the toothpick and replace it with a little ball of fondant just until I start adding the decorations, so I maintain which side is the front. Now using a darker blue fondant, I'm creating a bow tie and moustache. I can add some texture to these with the back of a paintbrush, and I'm inserting some wire into the moustache so it can be used as a topper on top of the cake. I've created some nice bright coloured braces which I can add to the cake and finish off with the bow tie stuck front and centre. Now when this cake is cut into, we discover the cutest little surprise inside. Served up for your dad on Father's Day with a cup of coffee, I'm sure you won't be able to wipe the smile